It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. Let's go. I'm just telling you to fight for your dreams, but it's not what it seems. Man, it's hard to be seen when everybody wants to be king. Yeah, they all want a ring. Yeah, we all want to be free.
Live for the Detroit Lions Nation Unite live show. And we got Lisa, one of my faves, and Jonathan Anton all in the building right now. As people slowly get in, we will get after it. How is it going there, Dan the man?
You know, it's just another day in paradise being a Lions fan. Always something interesting going on.
Man, interesting is a word. It is a word for sure. I don't know if it's a great word, but it's a word. It came out late last night. The breaking news that broke my heart. C.J. Gardner-Johnson could be done for the year with a torn pectoral muscle. Dan, you let us know in the chat, on the inside chat, and I about cried when I seen it.
You know, it's an unfortunate thing that the Lions are going through a bit of an injury plague second game, but Gardner-Johnson, I'm sure we all know he brings leadership, he brings energy. His energy is contagious, really pumps up everyone. So the downside is he's going to miss some time. Hopefully it's not the entire season, but it is looking that way. The other positive side, I guess, of the situation is I have no doubt he's, after surgery or whatever it may be, he's going to be on the sidelines in practice, doing everything he can to help this team still go on and win. Tracy Walker's going to have to fill in for him, and Walker's no slouch. He just doesn't have the history of making as many plays as Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, for sure. It's all I could say is I was really unhappy when I heard the news. I definitely was having words coming out of my mouth that you probably have not heard me say a whole lot. And because it just feels like it's the Lions curse, a curse that never ends. Chrome in the building. What's up, man? Like we finally get some players that feel like they really can contribute, and then it goes down. Now, Tracy Walker is going to be filling in for him a little bit. We'll have, obviously, Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. What's your thoughts on the Lions attempting to, use some of these guys for the production of CJ?
Well, if it was me, and I get Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn aren't me, I'd leave everybody where they are and just put Walker in CJ's spot. He typically was playing too high along with Kirby Joseph. That's something Walker actually isn't too bad at. It's one of his strengths, along with supporting against the run. He's not the greatest in coverage, but if you're keeping him back there with Kirby Joseph, that could help mitigate some of it. So that's what I'm anticipating, Aaron Glenn's going to do, but we're going to have to wait till Sunday to find out what he does choose to do.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to wait till Sunday. And the Lions are getting just destroyed with injuries. I mean, it's just been ravaged with injuries. This past week was a bad game, not just for the loss, but primarily for the injuries, And so the Lions got to be able to overcome something that's going to be quite difficult to overcome. And one of the injuries was David Montgomery. And so the Lions signed a running back, Zonovan Knight, to the 53-man roster. He was on the practice squad. We've seen him a little bit in preseason. What do you think about Zonovan Knight? What can he bring to the Detroit Lions?
I think right now the primary focus for him is just going to be depth. I mean, you're probably going to have Craig Reynolds and Gibbs share the Lions' share of the snaps and reps. I just don't see Knight coming in unless they see something in practice where they're going to say, hey, we got to get him a ton of reps, but you're going to need some other options out there. The other part of this, though, is, the running game in the first two games was kind of hit or miss. It was either working well or it wasn't. The passing game, on the other hand, it had really picked up, I thought, second half against Kansas City and then throughout the majority of the Seattle game. So if I'm Dan Campbell, and we'll see what shakes out, what Ben Johnson wants, but I think Gibbs goes in and he's got to get 15, 25 snaps a game. And he can be very explosive, as we all know, in the passing game.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know why it's going on. It says there's 27 here, but on my thing it says there's only one person in here. So it's just the weirdest thing going on there. Yeah, Lions got to have to run the football. They got to run the football. Jahmyr Gibbs has got to get more touches. And look, I understand he's a rookie. I know he may not know everything, but at the end of the day, Bijan Robinson right now is a feature back for the Atlanta Falcons. The Detroit Lions need to utilize Jahmyr Gibbs, whom we drafted with the 12th pick, to start to get some of these touches and break out. So I want to see that. I like Zonovan Knight. I'm fine with him being on the roster until Montgomery is back. And thankfully, it's not a long-term issue with David Montgomery. A bruised thigh, so maybe a week or two, which is great news because as soon as Montgomery was out, the Lions offense was out. And so we need him on the field sooner rather than later. And Big V, the hope is that it's nothing big. I haven't heard anything else about that. Have you heard anything on Big V?
I think they were waiting for some test results today. Yesterday, it was swollen to the point where they didn't feel like they could get accurate information if they were to perform an MRI or anything like that on it. So we should probably know something later today, if not definitely by tomorrow. It sounds like it may just be where he tweaked the knee and maybe it's flared up and hopefully the swelling comes down within 48 hours or 72 hours. If so, Big B could potentially miss this game, but probably be back the following week.
That'd be great news. We need him to be back because the offensive line and Grant Glasgow is not better with him in there instead of Big V. We need Big V in there. That is for sure. So, injuries, and we don't like talking about the injuries. It just sucks. But it's just the way that it is today, and there's just a ton of these injuries going on, and it is what it is. And the Lions got the Atlanta Falcons coming into town on Sunday, so we need to be prepared for this. Now, Aaron Glenn's taking a lot of heat. Lions defensive coordinator taking a massive amount of heat. I know when I was doing the live watch party, a lot of people are saying that I'm blasting him too much and the defense is not that big of a problem. But if you look at the numbers, the defense is a massive problem. We're bottom third in nearly every statistic right now. Again, 28, 26, 24. Now, run stuffing defense is 10th. But everything else, points, yards, it's bad. It's bad. What can Aaron Glenn do to change that, Dan?
Here's what I would say. At some point, you are who your record says you are and what history says you are for any coach or player. And I get when this current regime came on, there wasn't a lot of talent. I think everybody was willing to give, Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn a bit of a pass because the fan base knew there wasn't much talent there. But my problem is, and I've talked about this in a few different videos, you're in year 3. The talent has completely changed from the first year to the third year, but the results aren't changing. So to me, watching some of it and watching what Seattle in particular was able to do over and over throughout that game, did it really seem any different than the year before or the time before that? To me, that means, at least in my mind, Aaron Glenn's going to stick to whatever he wants to do on defense. He doesn't make a lot of changes. And someone like Seattle, who has a history of success against his defensive schemes, you're just not denying them what they like to do.
Yeah, I'm not liking the soft coverage. I don't like playing off the receiver on 3rd and 7 and they're at the 15 yards back. I don't like the non-existent defensive line that we're seeing. There's a lot of problems on defense, and I don't know how they're going to solve it. Because right now, the defensive line has gotten – only sack that we got was Alex Anzalone on a broken play.
Yeah.
There's no Aiden Hutchinson, Lee McNeil, Levi Muzurike, John Kaminsky. You go through all the names. What can we do to get some freaking pressure on the defensive line?
And the biggest problem I had, so go back just to the Seattle game. There were a lot of times Seattle played with obviously backup offensive linemen. At some points during the game, 3 backup offensive linemen playing. So what does Seattle do to counteract our defensive line? They leave a tight end or 2 in to block or a running back or 2 in to help chip. And we never made any adjustments to it. We kept sending the house. The house wasn't getting there. And like you already pointed out, the DBs were being asked or linebackers who were covering, to play off 5, 6, sometimes 8 yards. And it's just, that's some high school Pop Warner stuff. Who can't throw to the guy that's got nobody around him for 5, 6 yards? Aaron Glenn, it seems like a lot of people have him figured out at this point. Whether it's calls or whatever it is, they know if they run this formation, he's going to offer that kind of defense. And that's a real problem for a coach. If you can't provide teams an opportunity to have to guess what kind of coverage you're in, to create that half second, maybe a full second of, where they're having to process information under duress, people just go out there and they're playing Pop Warner football out there. And I hate saying it, Mike, but I just don't see it changing with Aaron Glenn. I think he's so entrenched with, we're going to win or lose my way, that he's probably becoming a little resistant to anybody even making suggestions to him.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know. And I don't know the solution to get this defense to play better right now. Am I on the fire Aaron Glenn right now bandwagon? I'm not. I'm not saying to fire him right now, but there adjustments have to be made, because this is unacceptable to have a bottom third defense again. It has been 3 years. Man, it's been 10 years since the Lions defense has been good. So like at some point, like it's got to change. It has to change. We're going up against a team in the Atlanta Falcons who they can run the football. Now, that is our strength, is stop the run. We're 10th in the NFL, but they're 3rd in the NFL in running the football. And they got a guy in Bijan Robinson who they drafted with their first pick in this last year's draft that's playing like a monster. What can the Detroit Lions do to stop him from running wild on us like Hulk Hogan?
I think they can, from a defense standpoint, I think we have the personnel to help slow down the run. The real thing I think we need to take advantage of is you have a younger, less than experienced quarterback out there. If you force them into second longs, third and longs where he has to throw into coverage, and now you complicate his reads, giving him, say, a look that's man, but it's really zone, that's where you can pick apart a younger quarterback. And if you put all the pressure on them now to have to run, and we're able to hold them, we've got some decent linebackers. We've got some decent players up there. I would fully expect Broderick Martin or Bugs to be activated for this game.
Yeah.
That's a real shock. But
Agreed.
being as that may, think to someone like New England's coach, Belichick. The reason why younger quarterbacks struggle against him so much is he's so good at mixing up and hiding his schemes. So everybody's constantly off base. I think Aaron Glenn needs to really do a look at that. Say, hey, we're going to stop the run first, but this kid's going to have to throw it long and accurately throughout the game in order to beat us. And I just don't know if Aaron Glenn's going to do that.
I agree with the philosophy. You got to stop this. Their pass offense for the Atlanta Falcons is not good. Their run offense is fantastic. So we got to stop the run. That's how you win this game, is stopping the run. And so that is something that we have done good on defense. So I'll give credit for that. And like you said, Isaiah Buggs and Broderick Martin, I want to see them in there now. This is becoming ridiculous. These guys need to get in there and help this defensive line out, because it's booty cheeks. This defensive line is terrible right now, and it's not playing at a good level. Get these guys in there, make some changes. Need to make some changes and stop that run, and also get to the quarterback here. So I agree, man. Stop the run is the number one priority in this game on Sunday, because they got a hell of a running team. Desmond Ridder is not that good. A little 350 yards passing so far. He's averaging about 170 yards a game. He's got 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. What can we do to make sure that we disrupt him? We do got Kirby Joseph, who loves getting picks. We do got players like Tracy Walker and Brian Branch. What can the Lions do to keep Desmond Ridder passing low?
I think if you watch what Kansas City and Seattle are both committed to doing against our offense, I think we're going to have to do something similar. Play a lot of 8-man fronts, 9-man fronts, leave Joseph, single high coverage with the corners out wide. The good part is Tracy Walker, you bring him up to the line. That's one of his strengths, is helping stop the run or shedding blocks. So this will actually play to one of his strengths. That I would do everything we can to say, you can't run it on us. Ritter's going to have to beat us for 4 straight quarters and do it accurately. And at this point in his development, I don't see him doing that.
Lee McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson need to step up, pick up the pace. I agree with you, Brandon Kenny. 100% they do, and they deserve criticism. And Lee McNeil was bottom 5 in PFF scores. That's unacceptable. The whole defensive line was. Like everybody, John Kaminsky, just you name the player on the defensive line, they were bottom. Like, what the? So, yeah, 100% they got to pick up the pace. If Desmond Ridder comes out and he looks like Joe Montana, and he's getting easy yards, getting touchdowns, he's looking like Geno Smith out there, what happens on Monday after?
I think that's probably the most difficult day of Dan Campbell's reign in Detroit, because I think we all get the defense hasn't been great in 3 years. It had some flashes last year where it got better. Say somewhere around number 20 in the NFL, which still isn't great. It's just not number 32. If we get destroyed and if Ridder picks us apart, Dan Campbell's got to sit down and have a real honest conversation with himself about Aaron Glenn's his friend. I get that. But he's got to make a choice about the future of the team that doesn't involve his friend. He's going to have to separate Dan Campbell, the good guy, from Dan Campbell, the coach. And he's going to probably have to make a real long look at, do I replace him now or maybe going into the bye? I'd be probably more leaning towards the bye, just so whoever you throw into that position has got 5-6 days of practice before a game to help get the defense changed somewhat to what they want to do.
Yeah, because the Lions offense, even though it doesn't look like it, it's top 10 in every category, just like we would said, yards, points, blah, blah, blah. The offense is doing its thing. Then the defense is back to the old bottom third, 28, 24, 26. Like, come on. So hopefully Desmond Ridder doesn't come out and look like Joe Montana, because if that is the case, a guy who's struggling to pass the football, the average is 170 yards a game passing. He comes out, he looks like Joe Montana. I think everybody here is going to be freaking angry, because this is ridiculous. At some point, it's got to stop, and it does. And if the Lions, it's a must-win game to me. What do you think? You think it's a must-win game? So I think it absolutely is a must-win game on Sunday. You cannot lose 2 home games in a row.
Well, 2 home games, and then 4 days later you play Green Bay on Thursday night?
Yep.
I thought last Sunday against Seattle was a must-win game, just so you could change the narrative of this franchise. Yeah. But now you can't change that now. You lost, I get it. But you've got to come out and you've got to win this game, so you force a meaningful game Thursday night against Green Bay. Because the winner of that, if you win against Atlanta, the winner of that game is going to have first place in the NFC North.
Yeah, it's absolutely a must-win game. And I know people say, oh, it's just week 3. It's a must-win game. They got to win. They got to show that this is not the same old Lions. Right. Because we lose this game on Sunday, it's going to be major heat coming. Because the season was, like, you got the new players, you get these rookies, everything's looking good, and then you lose to Atlanta, 2 losses in a row at home. It would be freaking angry in Detroit. The Lions fans would be starting to rebel a little bit. And I'm going to be mad, because the expectations is much higher this year than it was for years past. It's different when you have the expectations this high. When the NFC North is failing, 1-1 Green Bay, 1-1 Lions, and then the 0-2 Vikings and 0-2 Bears. If you can't get it done this year, it's never going to happen. It feels like this is the one chance that we got, and they got to do it.
One thing I'll throw out there, and like I said earlier, coaches, players, the longer they're around, you figure out who they are, their tendencies. I get Dan Campbell doesn't like playing starters during the preseason. But think about this for a minute. If this team had played just a couple, say, series on offense or defense during those preseason games, how much different do they look opening day or even against Seattle? Some of the miscues I get on the pick 6, you got Campbell saying, well, Gibbs ran the wrong route or maybe Goff threw it to the wrong spot. Would that still be around if they had played together for a while? My problem with the NFL, it's not the NBA. You don't have 250 games before the playoffs. You've got a very limited window to either win or lose, and every game is so magnified because of the results and how it impacts the season. Last year, if we had played some guys in the preseason, do we actually beat Philadelphia opening day and then make the playoffs? I think this year we would have won against Seattle because we'd have more continuity on both sides of the ball. You wouldn't see people running open on defense and everybody looking at each other. You had him, I had him, who had him? And that's the problem. They're treating these first couple of games of every season under Dan Campbell as basically that's your preseason. This is where we're going to get everything worked out. And you're throwing games away, in my opinion, because of it.
What is the X factor for this game on Sunday? What player, offense, defense for the Detroit Lions? I'll start up first. My X factor here is going to continue to be Jahmyr Gibbs. We've got to run the football, and now with David Montgomery out, he has got to step up and make some big runs. The Lions must run the football. They must be able to get that play action working. It ain't going to work if you can't run the football. Right. What happened last week or on Sunday is got to be different. We got to be able to – Jahmyr Gibbs got to be able to step up a little bit. He's got to step up, man. He's got to be able to run the football, catch the football. We need him on this offense making plays for us. We do. That's my X factor in this game. How about yourself?
I'm gonna go with this. It's not a player, it's a coach. It's Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn has got to do something to confuse Ritter, to keep the running game of Atlanta at bay. I mean, you've got to get stops. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what the offense is going to do unless you're going to ask the offense to score 90% of the time. You've got to take some pressure off of them, and you've got to show you as a defensive coordinator can get stops, especially against a young, inexperienced quarterback, and not allow the next who was the New England kid who beat us, who got cut, the quarterback, whatever his name was, the guy who was 7th round pick, who's not even in the league now. And we made him look great. That's the problem. I think all the pressure in the world is going to be on Aaron Glenn this weekend.
The Atlanta Falcons got a pretty good defense. They're top 15, 16 on pretty much all the categories. It's not a bad defense. They got a really good offensive line, top 10 offensive line. They have a really good running back. It's going to be a tough game. And I think for the Lions, they got to play absolute sound football in this game. For a prediction, I'm going to do the Detroit Lions do win 28-25. It's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think the Lions pull off the win because it's a must win. In the comment section, let us know what your prediction is for this game. What about you, Dan?
35-18, Atlanta.
35-18. Jeez. Now, before you just spouted off a crazy one, why is that? Why did you put it as a blowout?
I think Atlanta hits a lot of our weaknesses, and I think our offense has got some firepower. But I think you and I have talked about it. You also see what every defense is doing against us with overloading the box. You're going to put 2 people in a bracket coverage on St. Brown, and somebody's got to come out on the other side of the offense to take pressure off St. Brown while drawing some coverage out of the box. Until that happens consistently, and Reynolds has helped a ton, but he's just not winning consistently enough to where I think that defensive scheme is going to change. Atlanta comes out and does the exact same thing Kansas City and Seattle's done. That shows you every defensive coordinator is going to keep doing that until we can make them pay for it. And I think
the Lions offense could get a little more points than that, but you know what? You never know. Let me know in the comment section who you guys got winning this game. Score prediction in there. And if you got questions, throw it in the comment section. Do a hashtag Lions, hashtag LNU, hashtag Dan, hashtag Ouch, hashtag 9Drinks, hashtag Lisa DeLorenzo. Whatever you got, it's a hashtag, and we will answer your question for you. Chrome thinks we're going to win. Atlanta played well, but they're not going to lay down. Ouch, says 9Drinks. So he's like, whoa, Dan, the man. Good news is we've stopped the run. Exactly. That is the good news here. They are the second or third best run team in the NFL, Atlanta, and we're the 10th best run defense in the NFL. 35-28 Atlanta. Jonathan Atson's with you. He's like, you know what? Atlanta's taking the W here. It's just hard for me to believe Detroit Lions would lose 2 at home in back-to-back. It's just really difficult for me to say that. It's going to be a lot of problems that happens, though. Man, Lions Gangster 34, Falcons, Lions 28. Lions 27, Falcons 30. Falcons 200 yards passing, 200 yards rushing. Lions will make Desmond Ridder look like Karen Rodgers. Woof. That would be bad. That would be absolutely bad. So a lot of people are agreeing with you that they got the Atlanta Falcons winning here. Oh, my God. That would be a disaster. That would be a disastrous start to the Lions season. Thank you, 9 Drinks in the building. He goes 21-17 Lions. I needed your help, man. I was alone on this boat. Oh, okay. STG Dogs is Lions 27, Falcons 24. I love it. They're going to have to stop Bijan. Yeah, 100%. That's their offense is the Atlanta Robinsons. So they got to stop the Atlanta Robinsons. How y'all feel about former Jeff Okudah matchup with y'all receivers and AJ? I thought Jeff Okudah is not playing in this game. Isn't he injured?
I think
That's what I was
still injured. I could be wrong.
He's still injured, so I don't see him playing in this game. But in theory, I think the Lions would burn him. He was never good here. I don't know how he has done over there before he got injured, but I think the Lions could handle Jeff Okudah if you were to theory be in play, but he's not playing. I'm pretty sure he's injured. So let's see here. We're not losing to the Falcons. They barely beat the NFC North bottom feeders. You mean the Green Bay Packers? The Green Bay is not the bottom. They're 1-1. The bottom feeders, the Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. Lions bounce back 34-13. Brandon Kenny, love it. Campbell is going to have a big game. I hope so. 31-28 Lions. Lisa jumping on the Lions bandwagon, starting to help out. You know, you look at the linebackers here. What do you think about Jack Campbell? Should he get a lot more looks in this game? Derek Barnes has looked phenomenal. He's been one of the probably better defensive players on the team.
I think Barnes has played far better than anybody would have guessed coming into the season. Anzalone, I will say this. If you want to put a blame on a defensive player for last week's performance, I'd start with him. He got the one sack that kind of give me one where Smith just rolled backwards almost like a Madden player, like 30, 40 yards or whatever. But outside of that, I don't think he's had a great start to his season by any means. He had been Mr. Consistent the prior seasons with Detroit, but this year he's looked not so great. So I would actually like to see Barnes and Campbell get out there together a lot more.
Yeah, I'd like to see it a lot more too. I'm 100% with you. I want to see Jack Campbell, but Derek Barnes has been lighting it up and he deserves to be out there. And I agree. Jermaine Winfrey says fly high. 31-20 Falcons. Must be a Falcons fan. We are definitely respecting your team. We're not taking your team lightly over here at all. What do you think about Campbell saying the defensive ends are rushing high? Is Hutchinson undisciplined? I'm not going to say he's undisciplined at all. I just think that they have been completely underperforming. I don't know what else to say. Hutchinson, he's a good edge rusher. He's good. He had a bad game. Well, I don't say bad game. He gets double teamed so damn much and held.
Right.
It's really hard to tell. But when you don't got anybody other than him out there, teams can just easily take your top guy out. But you've got no other help here right now. Charles Harris, he's not doing anything. Romeo Okwara, he's not doing anything. The interior, not doing anything. That's why a lot of people wanted Jalen Carter. That's why a lot of people wanted Jalen Carter. I think that they should play Barnes and Campbell at linebacker. Lisa, I agree with you. Do you think that our season is over with the? No, I don't think our season is over. Loss of one player, not at all. Remember, we went 8 out of 10 wins last year, and we didn't have C.J. Gardner-Johnson. So I think the Lions can. The reason we lost this game, and I'm going to keep it 100, is the defense was bad, but mainly turnovers. All right, we've lost the turn. We were -3, and you can't win a game when you're turning the ball over that much. So if that's what they need to do, is get back to disciplined football. 2 fumbles and a pick 6 doesn't help. Lions defense has got to be better. CJ Gardner-Johnson, does it hurt? He's gone? Absolutely, 100%. The defense got worse. Does the season's over? No. I think the only way a season would be over is if you lost Jared Goff and Teddy Bridgewater. Then you could just go ahead and say your kind of season's over at that point. I mean, it's generally the quarterback that could end a season, like Aaron Rodgers over there with the New York Jets. Gordon Roper, Atlanta wins following Seattle's offense game plan because they know our DC cannot adjust. Hey, if we know it, then they know it. You know that for a fact. Let's see. 21-27 Falcons, as much as I hate to say it, it is what it is. Curtis Williams, he's going with the Atlanta Falcons. Aaron Glenn has to set a blaze after the performance. He better. This defense has got to come out on fire on Sunday. I agree with Brandon here. What do you think of this idea? They got to come out and fiery and not looking like pathetic right off the beginning, because they look pathetic versus Seattle. That first drive is just like, what the hell? Right. So they got to come out and they got to be on fire, man. Like, look, Aaron Glenn, you got to do a better job. You just do.
In my opinion, Mike, the offense has a tone, it has a personality. I think it's reflective of stuff Ben Johnson wants to do. That's a big problem I have with Aaron Glenn. What are we known for? Pittsburgh, you got Blitzburg and everything. The Legion of Boom. You still have physical players that play mostly the same schemes in Seattle. Detroit, it seems like we're going to let you run whatever you want to do on offense, and then we're going to react to it and try to stop it. I don't think that's a good formula for winning football in any way, shape, or form. Do what you're going to do, impose your will on that offense, and say, hey, we're going to take this away from you, and we're going to do this. It's your job to beat it. We're not doing that.
Stop this soft coverage crap. I'm tired of watching it. I don't want to see Charles Harrison coverage. Okay? Let's use some common sense here. You're going to get beat every time if you do this. Well, we're just going to play 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. Well, they'll just do a quick pass.
Right.
Like, that's what are you thinking? Come on. If you're afraid to get beat deep, man, why did we invest so much in safeties? Why did we get a Tracy Walker, Kirby Joseph, in we draft Brian Branch?
Right.
You got to, at some point, you got to trust these guys who you get. If you want to play this soft coverage stuff, you're just going to get eaten alive, and we have been getting eaten alive. Absolutely. How do we stop Bijan Robinson? That's a question I have asked for you. How do we stop this? This guy's a great running back. I loved him come out of the draft. He has proven it. What do we do?
Like we talked about a little bit earlier, if it's me and Aaron Glenn ain't me, I'm overloading the box. I'm putting 8 guys up there, and I'm going to dare them to throw it over and over and over again. They're going to have to air it out in order to beat us, and I'm doing from the opening snap. There ain't no way you're going to run it on us.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what we got to do. And go play man on the outside. We're going to load the box. Right. You know what? Come on, Desmond Ridder, you beat us. If you want to win, you got to beat us. But we're not going to have 200 yards rushing on us and then just automatically lose. Because if they're going to run a lot. And if they are, and what we think they are going to be, in the fourth quarter, our defense will be dead. Okay, if they're running as much as they are in the first, second, third quarters, in the fourth quarter, it's going to be death. It's going to be a death nail. So you got to be able to force them to pass at this point. Stop dropping linebackers in cover. With Montgomery at the lines, play action won't be effective. I know the defense respected the run with Monty. Probably is not much Reynolds. And Richard Burden, you bring up a great point. Because that's what made me mad about last week's fourth down after Montgomery went out. At that point, they didn't respect the run.
Right.
And that's why Montgomery is so vital to this offense, and that's why Jahmyr Gibbs must have a big game on Sunday. We got to be able to run the football, and they got to be effective run the football, because if they're not, play action's not going to work. And guess what? Our offense stalls. It's all predicated on play action and being physical up front and running the football. Do you think that we'll be able to run without David Montgomery?
No, I don't think we will. I don't think we have the running backs for it. I mean, we'll get some yards here and there, but if you're consistently getting 2.5 yards, you're putting a lot of pressure and becoming very predictable on second down, what you're going to have to do. The other problem I have is, again, talking about the schemes that both teams have used against us to take away St. Brown and kill the running game. Now you're just going to allow them to drop more and more into coverage, and that's been a problem. I'm not a fan of what Dan Campbell did at the end of the game with under 2 minutes to go and 3 timeouts. But if you also go back and watch what Seattle did, they weren't worried about us running at all. They were dropping sometimes 8 guys into coverage, and they were saying, hey, if you're going to throw it, go ahead and throw it at us.
Cortez says every team we play stack the line, and it just doesn't work against Smith's offense. Look, I know they are, and you guys are still running the football, but we don't have much of a choice here. We are a pretty good run defense. We're ranked 10th in the NFL, and you guys are a great running offense. I think it's 2nd or 3rd in the NFL, but we have no choice. We have to force them to throw. Will it work? You're right. May not work for us, but we have no choice. We have absolutely no choice.
The best thing that would happen to the Lions D is if the Lions offense can come out and get up, 14, 21 points, something like that, to try to force them out of the running game so much, especially the later the game goes. But if we can't get stops with our D, that's not going to happen.
Lisa says Aaron Glenn fired Aubrey Pleasant when we didn't have the secondary we have now. We have the talent now. So if the defense doesn't perform, who are they going to blame now? It goes on him. I've been saying this all off season. They picked up players in the draft and free agency. If the defense does not make a jump, it goes on him. It does. And guess what? It hasn't made a jump.
Right.
We're at 28, 26, 25. The defense looks terrible. So they got to do something.
Right.
Got to do something. And if they ain't doing something, we're going to have to find somebody else who will. And if you read Jeff Risdon's Lions Wire article, he went hard on Aaron Glenn. Hard.
As he should.
And I think, and he should be. Question, how impressive have you been of Sam Laporta? Very impressed.
Yeah.
Yak, for him, he is the 5th best tight end in the NFL right now for Yak. He catches everything. He's open. He is a player that doesn't give up. He's physical, good in the run game. He's a great tight end. I was wrong about Laporta. I said the Lions shouldn't draft a tight end. They get Laporta, and he's been amazing for the Lions.
Hey, he's definitely been the best tight end out there. And the thing I've been more impressed with, and you already talked about is Yak, but overall, his run blocking's been, I think, better than anybody would expect for a rookie. It doesn't mean he's been perfect. He has been destroyed on a couple blocks, but for the vast majority of the time when they ran it and he's been asked to block, he's done an impressive job with it.
If the Falcons tear our defense up, I am with you, Marcus. I want to see Aaron Glenn's press conference at that point. If Def Burn throws 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and they run for 200 yards or something like that, something ridiculous, oh my God. It's gonna be hell on earth for him. So even if we win, like, this defense has got to improve on Sunday. It must improve. It has to improve. It has no choice but to improve on Sunday. So yeah, we'll see. I'm concerned about this defense. I'm extremely concerned because it looks the exact same from what it was last year. Doesn't look different at all. Even with new players and new faces, it looked the same. So, God. And at some point, it's got to be different. Please, God, help us out over here. Us Lions fans are tired of it. He says, not throwing 300 yards, I promise. Yeah, look, our defense gets eaten up. So it's going to be interesting to see. I know your quarterback's averaging 170 yards passing a game. He's one of the lower passers. We'll see, though. That's why Lions fans are nervous. If he comes out and look like Joe Montana, then Aaron Glenn's going to have a lot of problems. His seat's going to be on fire. Ben and Jared can figure a plan to win a shootout. Yes, they can, but that's not what we want to see. A good team has good defenses. Playoff teams have good defense. You're not going to beat the Dallas Cowboys, the San Francisco 49ers, the Seattle Seahawks any of these high-end defenses. You have to have a defense. I'm tired of shootouts. Like, you got to have defense. I know Brian Branch plays better in zone. However, we don't need our secondary to play more man-to-man. It'll be interesting how they use it now with Brian Branch out, or not Brian Branch, with C.J. Gardner-Johnson out. Where are they going to where are they going to put these guys at? So I'm with you. Is this game an early version of a must-win because Packers are 4 days after and we could soon be 1-3? It's a must-win, man. I'm with you. I am with you 100%. It's a must-win. Yes, 110%. It's a must-win game. If the Lions lose this game and we start, that's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. AG will get heckled if he does a press conference now. They got him on the witness protection program. That's funny. That's funny. It's comment of the day. The weak question in Detroit media needs to quit kissing and ask coaches some tough questions. Always ask tough questions.
Part of the
Put
job.
Jeff Risdon in there. He will. You got to read his article in Lions Wire. He went hard. He went hard for a media guy. Hard. He's telling him if he doesn't perform well, he needs to find another job. Like, I was like, oh my God.
Mike,
so
let me throw something out there. You know, anybody watching the video right now, if you get bored or whatever between now and the Atlanta game, go and watch the replays of the first two games. Do you see anything from our defense that isn't predictable? And that's the problem I have with it. We react to what other teams do. We don't enforce what we want to do. We don't impose our will. And I'm just like you guys. I'm just some schmo over here watching stuff. I'm no NFL quarterback or offensive coordinator. If we can pick apart the coverages and know what the Lions are doing, how easy is it for an NFL quarterback who does this day in and day out for a living? That's what the real problem I have with Aaron Glenn's defense.
Yeah, and it's same with the players on the field. The offenses know what to do. It's pretty easy for them. So we'll see, folks. We'll see. Maybe adjustments. Look, adjustments were made last year halfway through the season. Maybe adjustments will be made this Sunday. We all can have our fingers crossed. Yes, we are bipolar because it is time to win. It is not time to – this is year 3. Okay, it's time to win. We're not in this where we know we can go 8-9 wins. No, it's time to win the NFC North.
Right.
It's time. We've never won the NFC North. We have talent on this team. Their talent is there. The offense is good. We got talent. Got to be able to do better on defense. If you stack the box, Pitts will have a breakout game, and that's another player I'm worried about. Kyle Pitts. He's a really good tight end.
Pick
Brian Branch maybe on him, or Jack Campbell. What are you thinking, Dan?
I'm thinking I'd mix up the coverage as much as possible. Start blitzing more with the safeties, maybe even some corners. Be less predictable, and that'll help mess up the run game too. If the offensive linemen don't know who to block and they're having to guess, that affects the run game. Now the play action is shot because if you force second or third and long, you become a lot more predictable what you're going to have to do offensively. And that's the problem, at least just me having with Aaron Glenn, is that defense is incredibly vanilla. It's easy to figure out what the Lions are going to do the vast majority of times.
Well, my man's got to get off, and I'm going to get off since it's only 43 anyways. So I appreciate everybody hanging out. Lions versus Falcons. I have the Lions winning 28-25. What's your score? You have the Falcons winning?
Yep. I'll go 35-18.
35-18 in a blowout. I appreciate everybody hanging out and for this game. With that said, adios.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I